Welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we're getting into something that can feel a bit uncomfortable, maybe. Vulnerability.
Yeah, it's a big word. And one that, gets misunderstood a lot.
Right. Like people immediately think weakness,
Yes.
exposure, risk.
Exactly. But the material we've looked at, especially as one really great discussion, it kind of flips that. It suggests real strength actually comes from being authentic.
From showing up as you actually are. Flaws and everything.
Precisely. Imperfections and all.
Okay, yeah, but let's be super clear here. This isn't about, like, spilling your guts to the cashier at the supermarket.
No, definitely not. Not just oversharing with everyone.
It's more about being truthful
Okay?
about yourself. Even when your brain is screaming, nope, bad idea.
That's it, exactly. So our mission here for this deep dive isn't just about defining it.
Right.
We want to really unpack why embracing this honest expression matters so much. Because the sources really point to it being crucial for, well, deeper connections, for building actual trust, and, for our own emotional growth, which we're all trying to do, right?
Absolutely. Okay, so let's start there. Why does it matter so much? Why is vulnerability so key?
Well, our source really hammers this home. It's the foundation, the bedrock for deeper connections.
Without it, things stay kind of shallow.
Yeah, exactly. Surface level, hollow, almost. I mean, think about it. How many really deep, meaningful relationships have you or anyone built by just putting up a perfect front?
Probably zero. That really lands. I can definitely think of times I've held back, kept an opinion quiet, or not shared how I was really feeling.
Because you were worried about judgment or something.
Yeah, exactly. Fear of judgment. It feels safer in that moment, sure.
But afterward.
Afterward, there's this disconnect. Like I wasn't really there, that feeling.
Oh, absolutely. That disconnect feeling is exactly what vulnerability helps bridge. When we actually dare to share something genuine, even if it feels super risky, it's like an invitation.
An invitation for others to see us, really see us.
Yes. And potentially accept us. That's where the real connection starts. That's where trust starts to build.
And you mentioned emotional growth, too.
Yeah, being open about our experiences, the good, the bad, the confusing, it's fundamental to learning about ourselves and growing emotionally.
Okay, so if it's got all these benefits,
Mm-hmm.
connection, trust, growth, why are we so resistant? Why do we build these, like, invisible fortresses?
Good question. Lots of reasons, probably. But fear of rejection, that's a huge one.
Makes sense. It feels primal, almost.
It kind of is. Deep down, we need to belong. Social exclusion feels like a genuine threat to our brains, so being vulnerable feels inherently risky.
And what about looking weak or incompetent?
That's another biggie. We worry, right? If I show I'm struggling or I don't know something, will someone use that against me?
Yeah, that self-protection instinct kicks in.
It does. Even if, long term, it kind of holds us back.
But it's funny, because the source we looked at kind of turns that weakness idea around, doesn't it?
It really does. It suggests that when you see someone else being vulnerable, you often respect them more, not less.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think we admire the courage it takes, the honesty. It makes them seem more human, relatable.
Yeah, authentic, like they're not pretending.
Exactly. It signals self-awareness, honesty, things we naturally value in others.
Okay, so we get why we resist it, even though it's good for us.
Yeah.
But the big question is, how do we actually do it? How do we start lowering those walls? Because just deciding feels hard.
It is hard, but the source gives some good starting points. First off, embracing imperfection.
Accepting that we're not supposed to be flawless.
Exactly. Nobody is. It's okay to be messy, to not have it all figured out.
And reminding ourselves that vulnerability leads to growth.
Yes. Because when you acknowledge where you're struggling or what you don't know, that's when you can actually learn and build a resilience. You get clearer on your strengths and weaknesses.
There was that analogy in the source I liked. Vulnerability as a gateway.
Yeah, a gateway to becoming more fully human. It's a great image.
How so?
Well, think about it. Admit you don't know something. You open the door to learning. Share a fear. You create the chance for someone to offer support.
So it's not weakness, it's courage.
Absolutely. It takes courage. And doing it actually builds inner strength, empathy, emotional intelligence, all that good stuff.
That's powerful. Let's zoom in a bit then. How does this play out in, say, our relationships? Romantic, family, friends, even work?
Oh, it's huge in all those areas. It acts like a catalyst.
A catalyst for what?
Empathy, mainly. When one person takes the plunge, is a bit open, It often gives other people permission to do the same.
Creates a ripple effect.
Exactly. A ripple effect of understanding, connection. Think about attachment styles in relationships. Vulnerability helps us move towards more secure attachments where you feel safe just being yourself.
And at work. The source mentioned leadership, right?
Yes, specifically leaders who show vulnerability, like admitting mistakes or saying, I don't know the answer here.
How does that help? Seems counterintuitive for a leader.
You'd think so, but it actually builds stronger teams. It creates what experts call psychological safety.
Meaning people feel safe to speak up.
Yeah, safe to take risks, share ideas, even admit their mistakes without fearing they'll get slammed for it.
I can totally see that.
Yeah.
A leader who pretends they know everything can actually stifle ideas. But one who says, I'm not sure, what do you think? That invites collaboration. Could you think of any leaders like that?
Definitely. And it really works in our personal lives, too. Vulnerability is what creates real intimacy.
Seeing and being seen.
Exactly. You need both.
All right.
Without that willingness to be open, honest, even about the difficult bits, love, friendship, it all stays pretty shallow, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. And it's not just about others, right? It links back to our own growth, too.
Absolutely key. The source stresses this. We evolve by acknowledging our fears, our weaknesses, our desires.
If we just hide behind a shield.
We get stuck. We don't learn from experiences. We just stay protected but stagnant.
Okay. I'm sold on the why. Now, the how. How do we actually start doing this more in daily life? Are there, like, baby steps?
Yes, thankfully. And the advice is really practical. Start small.
Like what?
Like maybe being honest about how you're feeling with one trusted friend. Or sharing a personal goal, or maybe a small fear with someone you know will be supportive.
So not jumping into the deep end immediately.
Definitely not. It's about gradually building up, practicing that courage muscle in safer situations first, then maybe trying it in slightly newer territory.
That feels way less daunting. It's not about suddenly becoming an open book to everyone.
No, it's about small, intentional acts of honesty, and crucially, acknowledging that it will feel uncomfortable at first.
Right. Expect the discomfort.
Yeah. Think of it like exercise again. The first time you try a new workout, it feels awkward, maybe hurts a bit,
Yeah.
but you stick with it. Practice consistently. It gets easier, more natural, and you start seeing the benefits, stronger relationships, more peace at work, feeling better inside.
And self-compassion fits in here somewhere, right? Being
Yeah.
kind to ourselves through this.
Oh, it's essential. If you're constantly beating yourself up for not being perfect, how can you possibly risk showing an imperfection?
Good point. Shame gets in the way.
Hugely. Shame thrives in secrecy. Self-compassion is like the antidote, reminding yourself, hey, everyone struggles, everyone feels this way sometimes. It cuts down that feeling of being alone in it.
Now, something else the source mentioned. Vulnerability isn't just about the negative stuff, not just fears and weaknesses.
Exactly. That's such an important point. It's the whole spectrum. Sharing joys, dreams, hopes. That's vulnerability too.
Why is sharing positive things vulnerable?
Because you risk disappointment, maybe? Or perhaps you worry people will think you're bragging, or that it won't last. Being open about what you truly desire or feel happy about can feel just as exposed.
Huh? Never thought of it quite like that. So it's the full range, highs, lows, strengths, weaknesses.
That's the balance. That's what leads to authenticity. And authenticity, the source says, is really the heart of vulnerability.
That makes sense. Authenticity, being real.
Yeah. And, it's interesting to look at this through a cultural lens, too.
So?
Well, the source notes that some cultures traditionally discourage showing too much emotion. It might be seen as weakness or maybe disrupting group harmony in more collectivist societies.
Right. Different norms about what's okay to express publicly.
Exactly. Whereas maybe more individualistic cultures value authenticity more openly, though even then there are nuances about how you show vulnerability.
And with the world being so connected now.
These norms are bumping up against each other, changing. What's cool is the idea that real emotional honesty can kind of cut across those cultural lines.
Choosing to be vulnerable is an act of courage, especially when the world tells you to keep a stiff upper lip.
Precisely. And that courage, that authenticity, it can be really inspiring. It might even help shift things culturally, nudging us towards more acceptance, more openness, a more compassionate world, maybe?
That's a big thought. Are individual choices having a wider ripple effect?
Potentially, yes. And
Yeah.
again, it comes back to being intentional. This isn't random oversharing.
Right, it's intentional honesty.
With the right people, in the right context. You choose who earns the right to hear your story. Building those safe relationships is so important.
And when you get positive responses over time.
Your confidence grows, you feel safer being open more often, or maybe in new ways.
Can we brainstorm some more concrete examples? What does intentional vulnerability actually look like day to day?
Sure. The source gave a couple, like sharing something creative. You made a song, a story, a piece of art with someone supportive, even though you're terrified they'll hate it.
Okay, that's definitely vulnerable. What's the potential upside?
Encouragement, constructive feedback, maybe, a boost in self belief, growth.
Another example.
Saying sorry properly, admitting you messed up and hurt someone, that takes guts, but it's often the only way to heal a relationship.
Yeah, avoiding blame and just owning it. And the leadership one we touched on, admitting you're still learning.
So key for work. It signals that learning is valued, that it's okay not to have all the answers. It lets team members step up without fear.
Fosters creativity, loyalty.
Mutual respect, all leading to stronger teams, stronger organizations.
Okay, so for anyone listening right now who's thinking, this sounds great, but I still feel that fear, what final advice based on the source?
First, acknowledge the fear. It's normal. Don't beat yourself up for feeling it.
And then
Start small, really small. Pick one tiny thing, low risk with someone you trust. Just dip your toe in.
and build from there.
Gradually, expand your comfort zone bit by bit. Maybe find some role models, people you see being authentic and open. Watch how they do it.
Inspiration helps.
Definitely. And hey, don't discount things like therapy or counseling or even just reading books, watching talks like Brene Brown's work, obviously. Learning more about it can actually reduce the fear.
Knowledge is power, kind of.
Something like that.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. What are the absolute core takeaways from this deep dive on vulnerability?
I think the main thing is vulnerability is courage, the courage to be authentic.
Not weakness.
Definitely not weakness. It's the pathway to deeper connections, real trust, and serious personal growth.
It feels risky, uncomfortable.
It does. It involves emotional risk. But the rewards, stronger relationships, more resilience, just a richer, more meaningful life, they're worth it.
And the way forward is small steps.
Small steps, practice, patience, and self-compassion. Treat it like a skill you're developing. Every little act of openness strengthens you.
Fantastic summary. So yeah, the big message is don't run from vulnerability, lean into it. It's where the good stuff happens.
Beautifully put.
All right, so for you listening right now, maybe try it this week. Just one small act.
A slightly scary but honest conversation. Sharing one thought you usually keep hidden. Asking for help.
Whatever feels like a small stretch for you.
We really believe that starting to embrace vulnerability, even tiny bits, will make your life better.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive.
It was great discussing it.
And we'll leave you with a final thought to chew on. What if we all leaned into vulnerability a bit more? How might that change our communities, our workplaces, the way we connect as a whole?